Are you enjoying the Mindset Playground? Well, visit my website at louannehunt.ca. That's louannehunt.ca and join the Insiders Club and be the first to know about all of the upcoming podcasts, the guests on my show, some tips and tricks on how to live a great life from the inside out, and of course, the Clarity Keys method, which is coming up in October. I can't wait to see you there. Sign up today. Hey everyone, welcome to the Mindset Playground. And I'm your host, LouAnne Hunt. And I want you to know that you are always one decision away from a completely different life. Now, I am so excited that you joined me on the Mindset Playground because a really good friend of mine has stopped by and wanted to play on the playground with me. And I cannot wait for you to meet this person because I just know that you are going to be just as excited as I was to talk to him earlier. So, welcome to the stage, Santa Gee.
Oh, it's so good to be here, LouAnne. How are you doing today?
Well, I am so excited to talk to you because I've wanted to talk to you about things that we're going to talk about today for a long time. And you know, we go back quite a ways. What do
Yes,
you
we do.
think?
Well, I'm here for you, and I'm in a hurry, so I've only got from now until Christmas.
Oh no. Well, I'll try to fit all of my questions in. And thank you so much for stopping by today. I know that this is a kind of a rare appearance for you as far as podcasts go. But what was it about my podcast that made you want to come and visit with me and play on the playground?
Well, you know what? I like the idea of the second, third, fourth career. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up yet. So I just thought it would be nice to sit and chat with you about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Because in our first careers, we actually worked together.
Might have been your first career, but that was my second. I was in the Army first.
Oh, really? I didn't know that about you. So
Surprise, surprise.
yeah, of course, I'm sure you're full of surprises. So let's talk about that because, it was definitely a different type of life. And I don't know about you if you knew this, but I actually wrote a chapter in a book that's due out mid October. And I talked about life in that career.
There's
Now,
lots about there.
so I didn't get into too many details, but I'll tell you this. When I was growing up, I always wanted to be a school teacher. And I used to, line up all my stuffed animals and my dolls and my poor brother, who was 8 years younger than me, when he would sit still, that is. And I would teach them math because I got this little toy. Well, it wasn't really a toy, probably brought to me from Santa, but it was a blackboard. It was a blackboard and chalk the whole bit. So I remember propping that blackboard up on some boxes in the basement and lining everybody up. And I was going to be a school teacher and I taught them math. My brother probably was about maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old. And I was teaching them addition and subtraction, if you can believe that.
I'll tell you, that's something he can use the rest of his life. That's for sure.
So what happened after that is, life happened. Life became lifey, and I didn't I didn't go to school to be a school teacher because life had other plans for me, and I ended up working for the government.
There you go.
And that's where I met you. So how long did you work there?
How long did I work there? 90 days was all we had to do. No, I'm only joking. I worked there for I worked there for 31 years and 2 months, I believe.
Yeah.
I had 30 years in when I decided to make a career out of it. So I stayed the rest of the time, I guess, once I decided to make a career out of it.
Well, what made you decide to do that or get into that position?
Well, number one, it was a pretty good paying job at the time. Um, it was a fun job. There were certainly some pretty shitty days that we went through, but the majority, I look back on the memories that I have from being a police officer, and most of it was fun. I did enjoy serving the public. Um, and you know, when people call the police, it's a priority one call for them, no matter what, because they probably called the police once or twice in their lifetime. But we have to prioritize the calls to our own. And when we went to a call, we did our best to solve that problem for the people that were calling. Um, if we sometimes we missed, but on the majority of the times we tried to solve that problem that they had. Um, Most of them were pretty simple to solve, to tell you the truth.
And that was back then, right? In the
Way back
olden
then,
days. Yeah. I can't even imagine because that's when I worked there as well. And I can't even imagine.
way back before Google.
I tell everyone that when I started working at the police station, that I was in the communication center, which wasn't even 911. And I tell people that I say I worked for the police before 911. And everybody says, what was the phone number?
258-6111.
That's right. And here's a funny story that I remember a lot, or very much so, is we worked together a few times.
You were in the communication center for a part of your career, were you not?
Yes, I was for 6.5 years. And you and I worked together in the communication center.
Did we?
Yes, we did,
Well,
because
I go ahead.
they decided that a brilliant idea would be, first of all, I got to go out on a ride along, which was still to this day something unbelievable. And then they decided, well, the police officers need to understand what the dispatchers go through. So they decided that they were going to put you guys in the communication center. And I remember working with you. And
Well, it's
I
funny because before you came along, when I was walking the beat, they would routinely pull one of the beat officers off the road to work the communication center when they were shorthanded. It was not uncommon for us to work the communication center. I remember one Sunday night, it was a blizzard in the city, and we had four walking men that were in running the communication center that night. And back then, there was one dispatch channel. Channel 2 was a channel that we used for information only. If you needed a section number looked up, or if you needed someone ran on CPIC, you'd go to Channel 2 and do it. And then we had two complaint takers behind us. And I remember this one Sunday night, it was a blizzard out. Nothing was moving in the city at all. The phones had maybe rang three, maybe four times throughout the entire shift. And we had about 3 minutes left to our shift. And the emergency line rang. And all four of us looked at each other and said, like, who's going to get it? And I finally picked up the phone, and then, Windsor Police Emergency, how can I help you? And the guy says, my friend's just been shot here. I says, get out of here. He says, no, really? It was just the last thing we were expecting.
I
And that
do
was the beginning of an investigation for the guys on the road.
I do remember that. Believe it or not, I do remember it. So times have definitely changed, and with social media, and I don't even know how. I mean, it's been good and it's been bad as far as the world, I guess. But yeah, I can't even imagine doing the job that we did, or that I did and you did out on the road, with social media involved now. So I can't even imagine.
Well, that's just it. People wouldn't stop to help a police officer. They would stop and video it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's so true.
And the reality is, I'll still be in a place somewhere and have my cell phone in my hand, and I'll be thinking, man, I wish I had a camera with me. I just teaching an old dog new tricks, eh?
How true is that? So true. So now let's fast forward to what you're doing now because it's so, so important. I mean, what you did back then and when you worked in community services, I'm sure you have a boatload of stories from community services. But is that where you sort of decided that that's what you wanted to do was be more involved in the community by becoming Santa Gee?
I've been performing as Santa for family and friends since back in 1982 or 83. Um, I did family friends, I did police officers' families, and that kind of stuff. But I decided to become a professional Santa in 2012. I made an investment. I used to rent suits from a rental agency in Windsor, but I made an investment into my own suit. I booked a few jobs in Windsor, and I used to sneak across the border into Detroit. And there's a lot of business for a professional Santa in Detroit and surrounding areas. But the reality is that I got very tired, and this is a very true story. I got tired of people sitting on my laps and having their guns jam me in my side. So I said, I'm not doing Detroit anymore. It's ridiculous. So I decided that maybe I'd try moving up to Toronto for a couple of weeks and seeing what I could do in Toronto. And I'm a very well-known Santa in Toronto. Um, I would, without trying to brag too much, I would put myself as one of the top 5 or 6 Santas in Toronto. There's many Santas in Toronto, and they're all very, very good. But I turned down many, many, many jobs more than I can do, and I am booked solid from year to year. My season this year, I will move into a hotel in Toronto on the 27th of October, just in a few days from here.
Hmm.
And I will be in that hotel until the 27th of December. And I'll have maybe 4 or 5 days off in that period of time. Other than that, I'll be working every day.
Wow. So that brings me to my next question. So you say it's more than just putting on a suit. I know you've told me
Oh, it
that
is.
before. So what does it really take on the inside to embody the spirit of Santa Claus year after year?
Well, you have to think back to your own Christmas memories when you were a child, and Christmas was magical. It was so magical to me. I still believe in Santa, to tell you the truth.
Of
Uh,
course you do.
but it's just
You are
magic,
Santa.
and it's important to bring that magic forward. It's important to listen to the children. A good Santa is a good listener. A good Santa is someone who cares for the children. There's no doubt about that. And you've got to listen to them. You will get more out. I get more out of being Santa than the children get from me being Santa. It's as a police officer, you'd walk into a room and nobody would want to see you. As Santa, you walk into a room and everyone wants to see you. It's so rewarding. It is just so rewarding. From my point of view, it's a great, great, great job. It's the best job I've ever had. I
So do you
honestly believe I honestly believe I was put in this world to be a Santa.
interesting. Yeah, well, I can believe that too
And
because
I also believe that everything I've done in my life, whether it was in the army, whether it was on the police department, whether it was when I owned a bar, whether it was anything, it put me in a better place to be a Santa Claus.
how's that?
It taught me how to listen to people. It taught me how to deal with people. And I go into a home and do a home visit for an hour. And the children are fantastic. but you also include the adults in that visit. And the adults, you ask them to bring back, tell me what your favorite memory was when you were a child for Christmas. And they light up. They light up. Christmas is such a magical time to some people, to most people. It's just a great time of the year. It's a great event, and it's all magic.
And so how do you how do you put yourself into that mindset? Because I know that you said that your season is actually starting now.
Oh, it is.
And yeah, so how do you prepare? How do you go from, working say through the summer and, doing the things that you need to do to all of a sudden preparing for these few months that are ahead?
It's a little bit of Pavlov also in there because when you put the suit on, you're Santa. It just comes out natural. Comes out natural. But I don't hesitate to listen to Christmas music year round. In my when I leave Sarnia, where I live now, um, for Toronto in the end of October, I will play Christmas music in my car at all the time. I bring a speaker with me when I go on set at a mall or in a family home. I bring a small speaker with me, Bluetooth speaker, and that sits with me. I play Christmas music all the time, and that gets me in the mood. That just puts me in the mood and keeps me in the mood. It's just it's seeing the smiles on children's face. It's when that child sees you from 15 feet away and they run full blast into your arms. You know, the joy that they get from this is it just builds right through me. It comes through me into my heart, and it's just a great feeling. It's a great job.
Well, and I know that you're not wearing a costume right now. I know that that's the real Gerry.
This is
And
it.
did you have to sort of, like come up with a way to groom everything so that it's going to look just like the part, or is
Well,
it
my
just
beard is the
natural?
most important thing, and I have one barber that does my beard. He's a barber, not a hairdresser. And there's Tommy's Barbershop in Sarnia, Ontario is the only one that touches my beard.
Really?
Um, my mustache is private property. No one touches that but me. But Tommy is the only one that touches my beard. And in January, I'll go to Tommy. I'll put my fingers there and I'll say, clip it. And he'll shape it from there. And then I just let it grow from that point on. I go in every couple of months and have him trim just the short ends off the beard, keep it nice and shaped, and it just fills in itself. Um, and well, my wife is responsible for the rest of the stuffing.
Well, that's wonderful. She must just be just a wonderful Mrs. Helper or Mrs. Santa. Yes.
As she is.
Yeah. Now, the suit that you talked about, when you said, as soon as I put on the suit, did you have that suit professionally made, or how did that work?
I have several suits that I wear. Um, I always have a backup suit no matter where I go. You always have a second suit handy. My number one suit is leather pants and leather jacket with the fur on it. It's all leather from head to toe, and it feels like you're putting a suit on. It doesn't feel like a costume. It feels like a suit. It was made by a professional tailor in Toronto. It was made by a company called Northbound Leather. They specialize in male and female leather garments, and they make them from scratch. They're the ones that made my the one suit that I wear normally now. I have a
Wow.
backup suit that I had made by a tailor here in Sarnia by the name of Kyra Brown, and she's a seamstress tailor. Um, she did a fantastic job. Um, that suit is more of a cotton fabric. The fur zips on and zips off, so I can have that suit washed without having to worry about the bleed from the red into the white fur. Um, and I use that suit as a backup suit. And whenever I'm doing a pet night, I wear that suit for a pet night. Um, rabbits are pets. And you don't know what kind of pet you're going to get from one second to the other. I've had anything from a boa constrictor on me. I've had I've had goats. I've had a jackass or two on four legs. I've had a jackass or two on two legs also, but um, rabbits, dogs, cats. And sometimes I get an animal that just does not, you can tell when an animal does not want to come to Santa. And I let the people know that no, I'm not going to have my picture taken with that dog. Um, their tail is between their legs and their head is down and they don't want to come near Santa. That's a sign that they're not comfortable. So
Right.
I don't do that. If the dog is not friendly or comfortable around me, then I won't let them have a picture with me for many reasons, but safety reasons mostly.
Yeah. Well, and safety for them too.
And I also
So,
have another suit that is all white, and I wear red gloves, a red belt with it, and it pops out in a different way.
oh, that sounds beautiful.
It's white with some embroidery throughout the whole coat. It's a very
Oh,
beautiful coat. I sit for photographers as well as I sit in malls. You'll find me most of the time in Toronto, Newmarket, Ontario, at the Upper Canada Mall in Newmarket. I start there on the 12th of November. Those are 10.5 hour days, and I love it. They're uh, they're replacing me at the Upper Canada Mall for 10 days in November, November 20th to 30th. I'll be at a brand new mall in downtown Toronto called The Well. It's at the intersection of Front and Spadina. It's a very high-end mall. It's a very beautiful mall. I'll be there for 10 days, and then I'll be back to the Upper Canada Mall until the 24th of December.
well, and before we get to that, because that's definitely on my list to ask you about, but can I just bring your attention to the pandemic? So during the pandemic, when people needed hope the most, you reached children and families through virtual visits and video greetings.
I
What
did.
did That's amazing. What did that experience teach you about connection and joy, even from a distance?
Well, I recognized early in the year of 2020 that we were not going to be taking children on our laps that year because of the pandemic. And I started preparing in probably April. I started preparing uh, for the Christmas season. And I knew nothing about a video studio. I knew nothing about doing video online or Zoom meetings, knew nothing about it at all. So I have a friend of mine that decided to teach me. He's a computer geek. He's a great guy. He's knows computers inside and out. Um, and he helped me through it. He set up my studio for me and showed me how to operate it. And I'm in my studio now. Um, we did Zoom meetings with children from St. John's, Newfoundland to Victoria, BC, and everywhere in between. I was fairly lucky because that year CBC was looking for news articles also. And how they got my name, I don't know. They might have found it on my website because my friend Brendan also did a website for me. And they might have found it online. I don't know, but they asked me to do an interview and I did. And CBC Radio did several interviews with me that year. And when CBC Radio gets something, they play it from coast to coast. And shortly after those interviews, I was getting requests from Saskatoon, from all over Edmonton, Calgary, uh, Winnipeg, you name it, anywhere in between, from East Coast to West Coast. I did some Zoom, I did some virtual visits with children in Ireland. I did them in Moscow. I did them in Japan, worldwide. So it was a great experience. And what I found was um, you're visiting with children in their home. They're much more comfortable in their home. And at the same time, when parents booked that visit, they gave me information on the child. And I had that information on a card right next to the camera. So as I'm looking at it, I know who their best friends are. I know who their pets, what their pets' names are. I know what subject they're having a hard time with in school. I know their teacher's name. I know what school they go to. And you can really, really connect with a child there. And even more important, with special needs children, you're coming into their home. They feel much more comfortable without crowds of people around. And it's very easy to connect with special needs children. I enjoyed that 100%. I would start in my studio at about 9 o'clock in the morning because I'm playing with time zones around the world. And I would be in my studio from 9 a.m. until 11 p.m. very easily. And I'd be talking with children around the world. It was great. Fantastic experience.
That's amazing. And did you find that it just really helped the whole situation that we were, we were so far apart and we were so divided and we couldn't be with our families and our friends. And did you find that that made such a difference when you could connect with them so closely?
Well, we had to connect somehow, and that was the only method available. I know that some Santas did take some children on their laps that year. That's their decision, and that's the family's decision to allow their children to be like that. But I think on the whole, people were very cautious that year. Because if you recall, we didn't know how this thing was spreading. We didn't know. We knew very little about it at the very start, and I think people were much more comfortable doing it this way. I didn't have any bad comments about the method we used, the virtual visits. Um, they were all positive comments that we received back from parents. Um, we had some parents, we had them in tears, because we included them in the you would visit with the children, and I do this whether they're on my lap or not. But I look at the parents and I can say, I can tell that you've raised your children very well by the way they're acting with Santa. They say please, they say thank you. And there's some kids that don't say that. Some kids that jump on your lap and they expect everything. But the majority of the children, you praise the parents for the way they brought the children up. I had one family that came to see me at a mall, and the child hands me his letter from Santa, or letter for Santa. And the parents say he wrote that himself. We have no idea what's in there. And I read the letter, and it almost brought me to tears because he wanted to make sure that his parents were taken care of that year.
Oh,
And I folded the letter up, I put it in my jacket, and I said, I'll take care of this for sure. And as they're walking off the set, I called Dad back and I gave him the letter back. I said, you guys need to read this. What a perfect child, eh? What a perfect child. Never thought to think of himself. Did a great job.
wow. I was going to ask you that. I was going to say, you know, are there some situations or some calls or anything that really stood out to you? And that one sounds like it's in the
Well, that
top.
one did. I also do visits with photographers, professional photographers, and we'll sit for the day taking pictures. And I had this one child in Cambridge. He came into the studio and he looked at me and he just started laughing. And I got him on my lap, and every time he started to slow down, I just wound him tighter and tighter and tighter. He was laughing till the point of his stomach hurting. And he laughed the entire time from the time they walked into the studio to the time they left the studio. The photographer was getting annoyed with me because she had so many tears in her eyes from laughing herself. She was having a hard time focusing the camera. But that child had more fun that time. I will never forget that child. We hit it off, and it was laughter from the time he walked in to the time he left. And the parents were totally amazed at it because they were a little bit annoyed that their appointment was 5 minutes late. So they came in with a little bit of an attitude and they left with smiles from ear to ear.
Aw, that's so nice.
I've also done visits to Ronald McDonald House. Those are some very, very emotional visits there.
Yeah.
And
How do you handle that when a visit is,
when you're dealing with a child who has tubes sticking in every orifice of his body, he or she knows they're sick. The last thing you have to do is remind them that they're sick. So if you're visiting a 7-year-old boy, you treat them like a 7-year-old boy, and that's it. Your biggest ambition in that situation is to leave the boy with a smile on his face, and that's it. Treat them like any normal child. Don't treat them like a sick child. They don't want that. Treat them like a normal child. Then you can leave the room and cry your eyes out.
yeah, I know I would. So that kind of brings me to the flip side of the question. So now we've talked about, the children, and we've talked about their parents, and we've talked about going into the homes. Have you ever done an elderly or an old age home? I don't A retirement home. I don't even know what to call them anymore. But have you ever done retirement home visits?
I haven't done retirement home visits, but I've done adult parties. Um, they're fun to do. You can have a lot of fun with adults. Um, but you have to be careful. When people are at a party and they're consuming alcohol, it's very easy to come up with a suggestion and then have them go way too far with it. So you have to be very careful with it.
So now, what's next for you? I know that I made a suggestion, and have you thought about what I said about writing a book?
Well, I don't know if anybody would read it or what would be important, what would be of any interest for anybody to read it. But you never know. I I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. That's the best
Yeah.
I can put today.
So now you did talk to me about what happens on December 24th. So let's talk about that real quick.
You mean December 26th?
Oh, I'm sorry. December 26th.
Well, I'm getting requests in every day since about the 1st of September. I get requests to do jobs as Santa. I am sold out this year. I was sold out the last 5 years. Um, I'm sold out. I can tell you I'm sold out this Christmas coming up and the following one already. So I don't have a lot of room to accept more jobs, but I do get requests every day. I get about 10 requests a day. As we get closer to Christmas, I'll get more than that. Um, you're busier than heck. Like I say, 7 days a week up in Toronto. I'll have maybe 5 days off in the next 60 days up there. And you're working from sun up to sundown. Um, it's fun. I don't complain about it at all. It's the best part of the job is keeping busy. And at the end of the season, you're exhausted. You really are. But come the 26th of December, there's no requests anymore. And every Santa I know goes through a very, very mild depression because uh, nobody wants you anymore. And it's difficult to deal with sometimes. We get through it, but it is a mild little depression that you have. And like I say, we get through it. We deal with it, and we get through with it. You'll find a lot of Santa gatherings in Toronto. A bunch of Santas will gather in Toronto for lunch, and we meet and share stories. You know,
Yeah, that's wonderful. And that's like maybe your favorite moments, your not so favorite moments, that type of thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We all go through different experiences, and that's how we learn. That's how we learn. I had this happen to me, and I didn't do this. I wish I had have. And we all think about, and that's going to happen to me eventually. Sometimes, how will I handle it? And it's a professional development day.
Yeah, well, I'm all about that when it comes to professional development.
Amen.
Yes.
When do
I
you
think
stop
it's just so
learning?
important. I'm sorry.
When do you stop learning?
Oh, geez.
I have,
I don't think you ever do.
I haven't yet.
No, when I retired, I did end up being what I always wanted to be, was a teacher. And that's the first thing I tell them, don't ever stop learning, because it's never too late to become what you might have been. So, that's
Well,
my
you know,
famous saying.
one of the best parts of my career was teaching at the police college. That was those students are like sponges. They want to know more and more and more. And teaching an adult class is much different than teaching an elementary school, even though that can be fun too. But sometimes students in the elementary and high school, they don't want to be there. They're there because they have to be. Where adult education, the students are there because they want to be, and they are like sponges. And it's a joy to teach them. It's a joy to pass on your experiences to them. Um, you have to be careful what experiences you do pass on to them. But it was a joy teaching at the college. That was one of the highlights of my career. It really was.
Yes, teaching is definitely where it's at. And if you want to know how to do something, the best thing to do is to teach it to someone else.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's the one thing that I'm finding. So before we go, I always ask my guests for three golden nuggets to leave the audience with. So, what would your three golden nuggets be?
Well, don't be afraid to try something you've never tried before. Face the tiger and look him in the eye, and your fears will go away. Um, when you do something, it's like, for example, I do not like doing television commercials. I've done them, but I have to put 150% of myself out there when I do them. And I consider that work. And I would rather not do that. But if you're going to do something, you've got to do it right and put 100% of yourself into it. You can't, some Santas will sit back in the chair and with a smile, like, and other Santas will look forward with their eyes and their forehead. You smile with everything. Your smile is your whole body language, um, and so on. But that and well, you can't drink all day unless you start in the morning. How's that?
Well, those are three amazing golden nuggets, and I so appreciate you. I just want you to know that I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate you. And thank you so, so much for coming out on the Mindset Playground and talking to all of us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's really been a pleasure joining you today and your guests.